Okay. Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and get started. It's 4:15. So my name is Gabriel Berres. I'm a programmer analyst at Northeastern State University. And this is, it's called Beyond Info Tables. Basically just talking about our recent documentation efforts, stuff that we have made for ourselves internally as programmers, and just trying to make our lives easier basically by documenting stuff that, previously we just had floating around in our heads and we just, hadn't written down yet, or stuff that might not be intuitive to new programmers and it would be easy to, have this material to give to new programmers or just look up for our own reference. So yeah, I think that's it for that slide. Yeah, a little bit about me. Those are my 2 huskies and 2 cats. My wife Sarah's in the front row. I've been a programmer for about 3 years, since 2023. I was help desk, network access crew specifically, for about 2 years before that. So basically my whole career has been at NSU. So wanted to talk about a little bit of the challenge with Banner's built-in documentation, which is info tables. Are any of y'all programmers? Okay, a lot. Okay, cool. That makes my job really easy. So a lot of the time, which ERP are you guys on? Banner?
Banner.
Banner? Yeah, okay, cool. Then this is gonna work awesome. Okay, so sometimes, I'm sure you guys know this already, sometimes tables are not used institutionally in the same way that they might be like outside. And so a lot of the time when we're interacting with a new table or just wanting to know how a table works, we look it up on some public facing documentation online and it says, XYZ, and that's like not even close to how we use it at NSU. And so it runs into some problems when we start trying to report on that and stuff. And so sometimes the info tables, they don't have helpful information, or sometimes it's not institution specific, or sometimes they're just completely blank. Like there's some user defined tables that don't even have, they have an info table, but there's like nothing really in it because it's a user defined table. And so we wanted documentation that, made it easy to use tables. And so the easiest way to do that for us was make a public facing web documentation that we can interact with through our browser. And so that's what I'm going to talk about. So this started out with just me, and I was writing only HTML for all the pages, and it took forever to handwrite HTML for every single page. Had to like format them with CSS and stuff. That was kind of a pain, and it would take multiple hours, per page, having to go through the table, translate that to HTML. And so Markdown is easy to display on GitHub Pages. We host this documentation on GitHub Pages. Just makes it easy for anyone to look at it. And then Markdown, there's a library called mkdocs material, and it basically turns Markdown into like a web page format, and you can have like clickable links and stuff inside of Markdown. It's effectively a Markdown document, but it can have links and stuff like HTML, which is the good thing. And so our intern Nathan helped me write a web tool as well that we can basically take the existing info table, copy that out of SQL Dev or whatever IDE you're using, put it in this web tool. You can change whatever parts you want. So it'll have the columns, the data types, all that stuff. You don't have to type that in by hand. And then you can just change those columns to say, here's how we use this at the institution, here's how to link it to these other tables, etc. And so Markdown's also good because you can do a fuzzy search really easily, which means like you can look through every table we have documented for every time a certain string exists or something like. So you want to know every table that uses some specific field that we have documented. It's really easy to look through the whole thing. And I'll do a demo to show off like what that looks like in practicality. So this is our documentation. Basically we have it split into 2 parts. So data tables are any tables that store like, repeating records. And then definition tables are anywhere where we define things for those other tables. So when you add tables through the web tool, you just flag it as either data or definition. And then this thing through GitHub Actions will sort it into different folder structures and basically separate that so it's easy to look at. So you can browse your data tables, any that you have added. Something we also wanted to do was tags. So when you input a table, you can tag it with whatever keywords you want. And so maybe you want to see all the tables that you use a lot that are for employee data. And so you can tag, like NBR jobs is tagged as employee jobs and HR. So you tag it as employee jobs and HR, and then if you wanted to, you can go to the tags and then just look for employee. And it's got, which these are the 3 tables that we've documented so far that use employee data, NBR jobs, Spuppers, and Spriden. And then it makes it easier to find tables that way. Because, a question we got a lot from like new programmers is like, what table do I use for this? And then you can say like, okay, all these tables are tagged under this thing in the documentation. You can look at what tables do that. And so that was helpful for us. But the data tables, so you can look at a table and you can assign it a description. So it's just a job repeating table. And then all these columns, you can define them as you want. So it's got what the column is, the data type it is, a description, and then if it has a definition table, you can tag that. Basically, all these tables are stored as JSON. And so every single field has a definition table field, which if it's blank, it just doesn't do anything. But if you have a definition table for that, like say, lots of tables use term codes, you would say it's defined in STV term, and then every single table that uses STV term, you can just click on it and it'll take you straight to STV term. So let me try to find one that has STV term. So like, so first our course enrollment table. So like the term code, we just marked it as, the term code, but it uses STV term there. And you can click on that. It'll take you straight to the definition table page for STV term. So you can get there straight from that other page. We have column data, and then also a values field, which you can, if it's a small enough definition table, you could just export all the values, put them there, and then you don't have to actually run a query to see what the values are in that definition table. You just look on the documentation. And then also on every single page, there's a queries chunk here. So maybe you are looking up a table and you're like, well, this is great, but I don't know how to use this table or this data. You can attach sample queries that say like, get every student that is this, on a student table, and it would help you kind of get where you're needing to go with that table. So like for this one, STV term doesn't have a lot, but this one, for example, has get every student that is enrolled for this term, and get each student for the term and their total hours that they're taking, which is a pretty common query that we do a lot. And so that also helps new programmers. They don't have a query library built up yet of quick ways to get things that we do a lot. And so this kind of acts like a query library as well. So I think that's all I wanted to talk about there. Oh, and then the web GUI I was talking about. So we have this. So you can either paste an info table, so you copy paste it out of your IDE into this, or we have it hooked up to the GitHub repo for the documentation. You can browse the tables that are already documented, and then if you wanted to change one, like maybe you wanted to go to NBR jobs and add a sample query, you would just go down to the sample query section. It's already got the ones listed that are already on there. You would just hit add, put that new query in, and then you put your name and stuff down here. We only have this given to NSU programmers, so like not anyone can just go put in table information. But you open a pull request, and then it sends it as a PR to the repo for the documentation project, and then you just approve it, and the GitHub action will just put it on the page. So if it's a new table, it'll show like the new files created and stuff, but if it's just an update, it'll just update those pages. And this is obviously easier than, clone the repo, add the files you need, push it back up. It's just easier than that. And so that's what we did. And then also, we made a blank version of this. So we have a documentation page that doesn't have any tables or university information. So if you wanted to try this at your institution, there's a completely blank one. We have the links in the PowerPoint, which I can either get you the PowerPoint if you're interested, or it's on our NSU OK Programmers GitHub page. But there's also a blank version of the web tool. So if you wanted to, hold on. To make that easier for you as well, if you wanted to hook up the web tool, which you could just clone this and set it up with your GitHub account. But this one's a blank version of the web tool as well. So if you wanted to set that up for your institution, you could do that and then use that for documentation. And so I think that's about all I've got to show off. Any questions?
I could see you extending this and having more of a user interface where you click on a table and you can see the other tables that are associated with it.
Yeah, so that was kind of our goal with the tags. And so you can see whenever you go to a data table, let me find where that tab was.
Like entity relationship diagram.
Yeah, yeah.
More like interactive and only show you the tables that matter, because as we all know, there are thousands of tables in Banner.
Exactly.
If you try to see all the tables at once, there's lines going everywhere.
Exactly.
And figure out what tables are going to what tables.
Precisely. And that's another thing that's good about having it be tables that are added manually, is that these are the tables we care about. So like, a lot of the time there's tables that we just don't even use and they're blank, and you might look up like, hey Google, or hey ChatGPT, what table is this stored in a Banner? And whatever answer it gives you is almost never what we actually use. And so this way it's intentional. The tables that are up here are ones that we know that we use frequently and stuff, which we have about 20 or so tables right now, just because we've been adding them as we go. But yeah, exactly. So. Any other questions?
You said you're going to share this with us?
Yeah. So yeah, we have an NSU OK Programmers like GitHub organization. So both of these, the doc editor and the blank template, are on that organization. And so I can get your email or anything like that and email it to you. Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I missed the initial portion, but how are you guys were managing that before
So really, before this, it was either we don't have documentation on it at all, or it's just kind of like you just ask the other programmers, like, hey, what do we use for this? And it's not really written down anywhere. It's kind of just like you have to have,
Select all, tab call.
Yeah, I mean, basically, ask the other programmers was essentially the solution. And so this kind of the idea got sparked when we had our programmer interns start, and they were just asking all these questions like, hey, what table do we use for this? Or hey, I looked this up online and it took me to completely the wrong place for what we use. And so I was like, what if we just made an official documentation? So yeah, our programmer intern Nathan has been really huge in helping with this as well. He wrote the web interface for the pull requests. So,
is there any information about how much time you guys are saving a week or per programmer, or like new programming learning like the environment?
I mean, I've saved time myself already. It's easy to condense queries by like what you would use them for as well. So like sometimes there's some of the tables that just have like frequent queries that we write, and it's quicker to just go to that tables page if we need to like run it for someone real quick, and just grab the query off there and run it instead of hand typing it all out. So we saved time already. So it's been, yeah. So I was excited about it, so I wanted to come talk about it. But yeah. Okay. I think that's it. So thank you.